All right, so we've got two questions from Josh here for this week's Q&A. So let's hop into them really fast. He says, the first one is, when listing items from liquidation orders, especially clothing that has no comparable listing online, are you taking pictures yourself? And if so, what is your process and setup? Yeah, so obviously, ideally, like if you're getting a liquidation pallet, you want to look for ones, especially on 888 lots and other similar ones that give you like product identifiers or links to that actual product if it's on like Walmart, or a lot of times it'll be on Amazon. Then what you can do is obviously you can just grab the pictures from Amazon, grab the listing from Amazon or for whatever the website is, obviously, and then paste that into Poshmark, eBay, and Mercari, and you have like a professional looking listing that's obviously going to sell a lot better, right? If that's not the case, and if, like you said, there's no comparable listing online anywhere, there's two basic approaches that I use, right? So first and foremost, ideally, if it's like a good looking product or a recognizable brand, or you think it's recognizable, what I recommend that you do is you Google it, or you search for that specific product online, right? Literally Google it, type whatever that product is, like anything that you can use to identify that product, the brand, the size, if there's potential numbers on the tag, right? And literally anything, right? Try to categorize it, try to find a listing like that online. A lot of times you can actually find a listing like that online on another random website. Somebody will have already listed it on maybe eBay. I see it a lot. Sometimes it's even Poshmark, because obviously you're specifically asking about clothing. And if not, sometimes you'll find it on like Macy's or like a random site like that. So that's the next best option. And I do this with shoes a lot of times, because like if I get like a used pair of shoes or like a new pair of shoes even, I'll literally scan the internet and try to find that listing so I can grab the professional product pictures and then obviously information on the listing, the size, the fit, the features, and all that good stuff. So that's the first option. I recommend that you try that first. So hypothetically, if you have a liquidation pallet, right? And like let's say you have like 50 items in a liquidation pallet, right? You want to try for all 50 items to find those listings. And let's say maybe you find 30 of those items with listings online that you can then grab and put on Poshmark, eBay, Mercari, right? For the other 20 that you aren't able to find the listings, and obviously there's no comparable listing on Amazon, what I recommend that you do is take your own product pictures and then write out a detailed description full of keywords, right? Now, the way that you can take good product pictures, this used to be hard to do because you needed like a photo studio, a good setup, like photography paper, a good camera, great lighting. You don't need any of that anymore, right? There's an app called Photo Room. I talk about it in my course. It's called Photo Room. It should be in the general reselling tips module. And it also should be, I'm pretty sure I put it in the liquidation module as well. So I'm pretty sure it is in the liquidation module, which obviously you're referring to. And if not, then check the general reselling tips module, but it's in one of them. Pretty sure it's liquidation as well. And so that app will literally basically let you take a picture of anything, put it on like on a specific background. Let's say hypothetically it's like a shirt, right? So what you can do is you can put that shirt and lay it out on a table or lay it out on the floor, make sure it's flat, make sure it doesn't have any creases, take the picture, and then obviously upload that picture to the Photo Room app. It will remove the background and make it look like a white listing picture like you see on Amazon. It's awesome. It's 100% free. There is an upgrade that you can obviously pay for, but you don't need to upgrade at all. The only difference is that it has the little Photo Room kind of symbol in the bottom corner, but you can honestly just stretch the picture or crop that out if you want to, or you could even take it into Canva or something like that, or a free photo, what's the word I'm looking for? Free graphic design software like Canva, for example, or Photoshop if you have it, and literally just put white over that or crop that out really easily as well. So that's your best bet. First option is go find another listing online if you're not finding it on Amazon. That, believe it or not, you can do that a lot of times, and that's the best bet. If not, use Photo Room. Take some professional looking product pictures because it'll remove the background and make any product picture that you take look professional, and then just make sure to add some specs if you can find them online, or anything that you observe about the product, the size, the fabric potentially, or anything like that, okay? So that's what I recommend for that. That's a good question. Now, you also had a question on last week's Q&A as well, and you said, I'm trying to get started with book selling, but I'm finding a few things confusing. If Amazon is selling the book, but they have a much higher list price, will your listing sell before if it is Prime? Also, so there's two parts of the question here. Let me answer the first one. So You said if Amazon is selling a book, but they have a much higher listing price and you're obviously selling it with them, can you lower the price basically is what you're saying, and will you be able to sell it? Yeah, 100%. So there's a lot that goes into the buy box, and obviously if you're competing against another third-party seller, it's much different than if you're competing against Amazon, right? So I recommend going to the Amazon selling tips section and watching the lecture on what goes into getting the buy box. That will literally cover everything, okay? Because it's going to depend from seller to seller and honestly the buyer to buyer, right? Because your location matters, where your product is in FBA matters, your price matters, the availability to the customer matters. There's so many different things that matter. So if I look at that listing, right, I might get suggested Amazon's book in that specific instance if you're lower, right? But somebody else that's closer to your FBA center where your book is might get suggested your book for the buy box. So there's a lot that goes into it. In short, because it would take me literally 20 minutes to cover every possible scenario. In short, yeah, you can definitely sell it. What I would recommend that you do is either match Amazon's price and be patient, right? Or you can even drop the price if you want to, but then keep in mind that Amazon might drop the price as well to match the buy box price for you. But hypothetically, if you're selling it like a couple bucks or like $5 to $10 under Amazon on a book, yeah, you will get the buy box. But keep in mind when you're competing with Amazon, they do share the buy box with third-party sellers, but it's only about 10 to 20% of the time. Nobody really knows what the exact number is, but the speculation is it's about 10 to 20% of the time. So while you can get the buy box, even if you match the price, if you do drop the buy box, you can also drop the price. You can also get the buy box, but again, they're not gonna always share it with you like they would another third-party seller, okay? So hope that answers your question. There's so many different scenarios that can go along with that. But like I said, I recommend checking out the buy box lecture and what goes into getting the buy box with the Amazon selling tips module. Now, for your second question, you said, for the condition, if the book is legitimately brand new, but there's a tiny scratch or some small defect on the cover or binding, does that warrant listing it as like new? So this is a question I get asked a lot, especially with books. The answer is it depends, right? You have to use your best judgment. If it's just a small, tiny scratch, right? Then what I recommend is, and it's like barely noticeable, then yeah, list it as new, because assuming you sourced it and you have the proof that you sourced it as new, if Amazon were to ever ask about it, or Amazon were ever to be like, hey, we think that you're listing used books as new, you could then show them the invoice to prove, no, you sourced this book new, right? And so they're not gonna know that potentially you saw like the defect ahead of time and then listed it because you have the proof that you sourced that inventory as new. So it could have happened in the warehouse, it could have happened in shipping, it could have happened in a number of places. So if it's a very small defect, obviously, then yeah, you can list it as new. It's not a big deal because you have the invoice to back it up, right? Now, if it's borderline, or if you think it's like a little bit too much and a customer is gonna be unhappy with it, then you have two options. Either list it as used like new, list it as used in general, with a condition note, if it's still profitable, obviously, and you want to go that route, or you can simply just return it to the original seller, right? So if you purchased it on Amazon, return it on Amazon, right? If you purchased for a full refund as inaccurate website description. If you purchased it on another site like Arbitrage, or there's a million of them, right? Like any of the other book sites, then you can also return them, although it'll take a little bit longer for you to get your refund, but you'll still get your refund, okay? So those are good questions. Really hope that helps, Josh. If you guys have questions, I have answers. If you have a specific question, make sure to keep an eye out for next week's Q&A. I'll post that on Sunday, and then obviously you can drop your questions on the Q&A post, and I'll answer them in video format for you guys this week.